Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions in the worlds of TV, film, news, sports, lifestyle, music, everything really depending on the guest talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Peter Remoliotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. My guest is an actor. You recognize him from a lot of cool things, including Riverdale, but most recently, resident alien Alex Barima is with us. Alex, welcome to Popternative, man.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here, Pete.
I'm excited to do this, and we are both natives from Montreal, Quebec, Canada.
Yes, sir.
And we are here right now on Popternative.
Exactly. Meant to be.
Absolutely. You grew up in Montreal, and now you're in Vancouver, and you're acting. There's got to be some kind of moment, though, where the acting bug kind of hit you at one point, even before kind of moving to become an actor. Was that really early on for you?
It was very, very early on. Before I can even remember, to be honest with you, it's always been a part of me. And I remember being very little and telling my parents that that's what I wanted to do in life, and they didn't like that. But they like it now.
When did it hit you that it wasn't just like acting and theater, that it was storytelling? Because that's literally what it is, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a very good question. I don't know exactly when the transition happened in terms of a personal journey, but in terms of career, it was definitely shortly after I started acting professionally, maybe a couple of years in, where I realized, I do like it, but you learn a lot when you start working. You learn a lot very quickly. And what I learned was that actors have very little control over the actual story, not just, what's being told, but even how it's told. And so the further you move up the chain of command, so to speak, then the more control you have and the more influence you have on the actual story and the message that you want to get across. And I think that's when I really started cluing in that I wanted to be a storyteller, not just an actor. Yeah. Love acting, and I'll probably do it as long as I can. But the ability to genuinely get a story out there and share it with people throughout different media is where I think my career will lead me eventually.
Well, that was actually one of my next questions. Was a lot of people are wearing many hats, and I feel like they're doing it because they feel like they have to at this point. Like they're not just acting; they're going behind the camera as well. Do you envision yourself, being kind of that person that's wearing many hats and maybe writing, directing, producing, or is acting kind of like what you want to kind of focus on?
Absolutely. I think like you said, some people feel like they have to. I do feel like I have to, but it's not in a bad way. Like I feel like I have to just because now that I've been on that side of things, like I said, now that I've experienced life in front of the camera, I love it, but I think I would genuinely feel more fulfilled behind the camera.
Yeah.
And, I love being on set. I love working with big teams of people. I love, people coming together, focusing on one single objective and making a project out of that. So my only experience kind of producing and directing was the live improv show that I put up here a couple of years ago. Yep. And that was, to me, was a revelation just in terms of what it takes to organize a show and how to get people through the door, how to get participants involved, how to get artists to, bring their unique vision to your vision and add on to it. And so after doing that just the one time, I couldn't go back. I knew that was where I needed to take things moving forward.
Oh, absolutely. And we're talking about Resident Alien because it's, a show where I remember seeing kind of the preview, the trailer for it. It's on Sci-Fi, but I see the trailer for it, and I'm just kind of like, okay, this is something I need to watch because I feel like it kind of has a lot of different elements into one show. Like it's got the sci-fi,
really
it's got the comedy. You guys put everything in there.
Yeah. I mean, Chris is a madman. I don't know how he managed to pull this off, but I just remember, reading for my character and then getting the scripts throughout the week. And it was kind of tough to piece it all together in your mind, just reading it on paper. but Chris was always there, whether it's on set or in the production office. Somehow, I think he has a twin or something, because everywhere I went, Chris was there always. And anytime I had a question, Chris was there to answer it. He made himself extremely available to the cast, and seeing it all come together the way it has, it's truly amazing because, like you said, suspense, comedy, horror, sci-fi,
They threw it all in
science,
there.
everything. It's all in there, and it all works. It all plays off of itself beautifully. And he got some amazing directors in there as well to help tell the story. And I think it's going great so far.
But it's one of those things too where I don't know if this is also a testament to specifically horror movies, because horror movies have been have been rocking for the last 5 years. Like that genre has taken over, so to speak. And I find it interesting because you even see like comedy shows and dramas are throwing in like different elements that they usually don't do. Have you noticed that as well?
Right. Yeah, I think it makes sense that horror has come back a little bit because people need to be jolted back into attention, because our attention spans are being reduced every day by all the media we consume, and we're so used to being, having our attention commanded by all kinds of different sources. So I think it makes sense to just scare people a little bit into paying more attention.
Absolutely. Can you go into a little bit, obviously like no spoilers or anything, but what can people expect from Resident Alien, and what can they expect from your character in the show?
I mean, if people have been paying attention, they know that we're definitely closing in on Harry, and it's just going to escalate from this point forward. I can't give too much away, obviously, but we have some really, really funny and some really, really intense scenes planned for the end of the show. And I think people can just keep expecting more of what they've been seeing. If you've liked what you've seen so far, you're definitely going to like.
Well, for
where the
people that
show's going.
haven't checked it out, though, Alex, like what can they expect from your character? Like, what's that all about?
People who haven't checked it out. Yeah, well, people who haven't checked it out. I'm. Yeah, that's my listening going out the window. What was I saying about attention spans again?
Squirrel.
Exactly. No, for people who haven't checked it out, I mean, my character is definitely the straight man of the bad guys, if you will. I don't consider him a bad guy, but he's definitely working against the main character. Starts off, very isolated and very far away. But as the show moves forward, we get closer and closer and closer, and we just want to know what's going on. We want to figure out where this guy came from and what he wants. And, if it needs to come to fisticuffs, then hey, maybe it will.
I know, it's crazy. TV is obviously in a real golden age right now. There's been a lot of TV shows that have just had powerhouse fan bases that just kind of never seem to go away. And I think you know where I'm going with this. You were on one of those shows called Riverdale. And It's just like, it's insane. The fan base is just insane on that show.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I was already a fan, if you will, before I even got on there. I'd seen the whole show. I grew up reading Archie comics when I was a kid. I always loved them. So when I knew the show was being made and it was being shot here, I was like, well, I got to get on there. Only took me about 4 years, but finally
cool role for you too. A little cool storyline.
Man, I had a blast. I really had a great time shooting that. Plus, Sean Deppner, Sarah Desjardins, and Dorlin, who all played my little cronies. Those are all people that I knew. I'd venture even to say that they were friends of mine before we even got on there. So seeing them all come through the door and having fun with them on that show every week was just made it even more sweet,
Absolutely. When people watch Resident Alien, I say Resident Alien, and I always pause because I always think of Resident Evil.
Everybody does.
So Everybody does that. That's why I don't know if you saw when I did my intro. I'm like Resident Alien because I know it's Resident Alien, but it's just the first thing. Obviously you're hoping people enjoy it. You're hoping they kind of get some laughs. You're hoping they get some like the sci-fi. But specifically, Alex, what are you hoping they get out of Resident Alien?
I hope they get some comfort. I hope it just becomes like a weekly ritual of feel-good TV for people. I know it airs a bit later on the Eastern side. It airs only at 10. But even still, after a long day, maybe you've made dinner, maybe the kids have gone to bed and you just want to sit down and have a good belly laugh by yourself or with your partner or whoever's around And I want that show to be that space for people to just come home to on Wednesday nights and just have fun and not have to think about all the stresses of the outside world, you know?
And I'm sure, you know, with a show that kind of packs in so many genres and so many elements into one program, I mean, I'm sure the learning experiences for you as a storyteller and an actor were plentiful. What were some of the learning experiences specifically on this project?
This project, I've been saying, has been probably the most challenging for me as an actor, just because it's been very intimidating. Obviously, anyone who knows Alan's work knows that he's been around forever and he's been amazing forever. And I was already a big Firefly fan before coming on to the show. And, you know, I didn't work with him directly too much, but everybody in the cast brings the heat every single episode, every single scene. And seeing that and knowing what I had to live up to was very daunting, but I was lucky to work with, you know, very kind people, very generous people, and very professional people as well. So I had a very good team around me to make sure that I was doing the work the way that it needed to be done and that I was rising to that level. After we wrapped, I can't lie, I was overthinking everything and being really worried about how the show was going to turn out. But now that we're 7 episodes in and I've gotten to see most of it, I can say that I'm very happy with what we did, all of us together.
Absolutely. And I do need to also ask you this because I'm really curious, because you are from Montreal, you were Canadian, you're a Canadian storyteller. I'm Canadian as well. We grew up with a lot of Canadian TV content, a lot of Canadian movies and everything. And let's be honest, the stigma growing up was that Canada's content wasn't like as seen and as good as the stuff coming from the States. That's what it was. You know what I mean? That's kind of thrown out the window right now. Like if you look at all the stuff being made in Canada right now.
Well, that's the thing, right? So we would have to distinguish between things being made in Canada and Canadian content. Yeah. Now, I like to think that it's one and the same because, after all, if they're making it here, they have to hire mostly Canadians to work the crews, and they need to hire a lot of Canadian casts. So they're Canadians. We're all over the big shows, as you're saying. You know, I would hope that misconception is you know, being reduced to almost nothing. But I think the reality is. Yeah, well, I think the reality is, though, in terms of what's considered Canadian content, there still is that little bit of a stigma where, you know, if it wasn't for Schitt's Creek, like, I don't know if anybody would know any Canadian shows, you know, outside of Letterkenny and Schitt's Creek.
Kim's
really.
Convenience, Working Moms.
Yeah, true.
There's some good ones.
Some of them are, and lucky for us, you know, a lot of those you just named have crossed over, especially down into the States, and that's great, and it's really putting us over there. But I feel like that all happened very recently. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. No, it's crazy right now. But Alex, thank you so much for coming on Popternative, man. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Peter. Thank you so much. It was really nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. And we're winding down on Resident Alien right now.
Yes, we are. Only 3 more to go.
What was it like when it first, like the first episode aired? Like for you, like man. I'm curious, like what was that like?
Well, it was great because I had seen, because they shot the pilot a year before we started to shoot the rest of the season. So I actually got to see it. I got to see an early version of it before I started working on the show. And I was just blown away. I was like, this is the show I'm working on. This is crazy. This is crazy. Like, this is about to go down. And so waiting another, what was it? I had to wait another year, I guess, until the pilot finally aired. And I was nervous, you know, I wanted people to like it. I wanted people to love it as much as I did. I watched it, like, I've seen the pilot maybe 7 times, you know, and we got links to kind of share the episodes with our friends and family.
The pilot like hits, like I love the pilot.
It hits so hard, man. So I figure, you know, if you watch that and you don't want to watch the rest, then you're not going to like it. But most people who I showed the pilot to said, listen, man, this looks freaking unreal, and most of them have kept watching it up until now. So absolutely very happy with it.
And where can people follow you on social media to keep update with everything?
Very easy. It's always just my name at Alex Barima on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Alex Barima.
All right.
And PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.